showcased.
Welcome everyone to another live edition of the Showcase Pod. I am Don Vega, joined by the boss Chris Blackheart. Another week, you got that smile going on.
You know,
it's been a great conversation.
It's 9:02. I feel like we're 20 minutes behind. If the hot mic was rolling, I think the heads would be too.
Well, you fill me in on some great stuff that's been happening. A lot of news with different people.
Are you talking about the Danny? Are we allowed to say the B word? Are you talking about the Joe Biden and ice cream stuff we were talking about?
No, okay. Before that, even before that, how we were talking about, different times in wrestling and guys not trusting the process and guys talking to different people. We having technical difficulties there, Daniel?
It's not the first time. It's not the last time.
All right, here we go.
All right, so if those who are starting to watch live, if there's any issues regarding the mic and sound, please comment on there so we can adjust it.
Yeah. Well,
but with that being said, that should almost be the topic. Mistakes in pro wrestling.
We've given a break to guests so that we could come back, in full gear. Let it rest a little bit, come back to it. But yeah, we were talking about, having a training center and having students and people not trusting the process, even though you're in their best interest. Certainly not our case when we were getting started, but nowadays guys just want everything at the moment, and they don't want to wait, and they just want everything handed, and it's bullshit.
Well,
got me started early.
Well, don't worry. I'm going to piss you off even more. But it's almost like if you're hungry for a burger, they don't understand. They got to get the cow first.
Yeah.
You can't eat the cow because that's not the burger.
Well,
and that's part of the process. There's a process of getting the meat on the plate or to the bun, but not on the field.
Well, some people like to eat their meat raw.
I haven't done that in years. I'm typically not a big fan.
Well, I'm just saying, some people just like to eat their meat raw, and in some cases, when you do that, you get sick.
That is true. I would think Dan Badante, I could see doing that.
He's a raw meat eater, Danny?
I could see that.
Are you a raw meat eater?
Almost.
Oh, almost, okay. Yeah. He does the 1 second flip.
All right, so why don't we go, so when it comes to training, right, what are mistakes that you see people when they're choosing a school?
Well,
what are common mistakes?
let's because a lot of people I know, like, again, before we move on, I'm looking here. We are now we're 70, almost 70 subscribers away from 1,000.
All right. So with that being said, spread it out there. Any new people looking to be a pro wrestler, inspired because of the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, these are the tips and tricks that you should be looking for. Instead of sending the email, hey, I want to be a pro wrestler, this is going to help you navigate that to give you a plan to go and look at a school.
Okay.
All right?
So, we since people like to watch, let me just clear this before we give those.
All right.
Let's stroke it before we we get to the point. Don't mind Danny coughing. He's doing all right. We get a lot of viewers that are not subscribed, and the reason with that being is we get a lot of.
Are we going back on the hiders?
We got a lot of hiders, haters, whatever, but they still watch. And going back to the school, we were talking about when we had a scenario that we were training people down in New Bedford.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the topic of a lot of people when they want to shit on you or myself or whatever. Back then, we should have been using that time to get further instead of trying to teach others when possibly we wasn't prepared to teach others. You know, furthering our careers and getting more knowledge and getting in the right spots. Like you mentioned, going back to Walters, because, you know, Walter always had that open door for students and stuff like that. You know, going there knowing the do's and don'ts.
Well, I think, I mean, the scenario really how it came up, we were, at that time we were walking, we were working for top rope.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who was training what happened, but Eugenio said, hey, do you guys want to train on the nights? And we did. And at that time,
I think we had like Thursday nights or something.
At that time, I was probably about 4 or 5 years in.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You know, and you're like, hey, okay, you know. There was a
couple.
couple.
You know it all, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you know more than the guy coming in or the guy that's been there for a year. Yeah. So we took him up on it. Yeah. And I was literally having this conversation the other day, actually 3 days. This is Thursday. I had it Monday, and I had it Tuesday, and I had it Wednesday with one of our young guys.
Yeah.
And then it dawned on me that the mistakes that I made during training, which was one of them. Instead of training little Johnny or little Tony from
little
Brockton,
Mikey, little Nicky, little Brandon, little whatever, you know.
Yeah, showing them how to do a hip toss, arm drag, whatever. I should have been literally investing into myself. Yeah. Because when you look at it, every great athlete typically has different coaches or a coach. Yeah. I brought up Michael Jordan, you know. Tiger Woods, they all had coaches, great athletes, but they always had someone to helping refine it. And I'm sure they weren't best friends with them. They were probably friends with them, but they knew their main job was to get them better. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure when they said, you know, with Michael Jordan, you know, hey, you go and you stay on that free throw line, and if you don't hit 100 in a row, you're not going to have that court. Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm sure some days he was there for a couple of hours. Mm-hmm. But look at the results that he got. One of the greatest, if not greatest, NBA players of all time. Yeah.
You're scaring me because, Blackheart, we're deviating to sports. You hate talking about sports. And
I'm not necessarily a sports guy, but I know certain things about sports. So don't ask me who played in the Super Bowl, because I'm probably going to get that wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Don't ask me, you know, all the rules about it, but I do know the basics, and I as a young person, I enjoyed playing it more than actually watching it.
Yeah. All right. So going back to that point, at that time, you were 5 years in. I was around that same time or whatever. You know, we were training guys, and we should have been working in ourselves to see where we could have progressed at that point in time to take us to that next level. Yeah. You know, and it's the same thing now, because you got guys that are been in the business, and contrary to now, we were working 100 shows a year back then.
Right. I mean, the work rate was more.
We were working, you know, pack houses in front of 1,000, 1,500, 500. It wasn't a BFW. It was a pack.
20 people.
Gymnasium.
No, but what the idea
hockey arena or whatnot.
You were getting consistent work, 2 to 3 shows, and you were going to training 2 or 3 days a week. Yeah. You know, I know myself, it was no matter, it had to be a minimum of 1. Yeah. You know, and that's besides you were going to the gym, going to training once or twice a week, and you had the weekend shows. Yeah. But I wish, and I think that's what people forget, is, I mean, this is how we do it. When you're at the training center, we mentor, we guide, we tell you the good, the bad, we tell you the why.
Well, that's the part that people like.
And a good coaches, I mean, I don't know any coaches, Julio, right? They tell you the process. You don't have to like it, but they're going to tell you, not because you can't have your friends training you, because they're going to be nice about it, or they're not going to push you majority of the time. You're there to train, you're not there for a friendship.
Well, a good coach, in my opinion, is somebody that's going to break you down and tell you the things that you need to improve and the things that you're doing bad that you could work on to improve. If I'm telling you the good things that you're doing, I'm not making you excel. because you're gonna
Which is an
plateau
issue.
at that level that, okay, I'm good, this is good, you know, there's nothing to be fixed. I can stay here and ride that ride all the way up. And that's the problem now, going back to when we were doing the training and working those shows in front of thousands of people and 100 shows a year or whatever. Guys now are working 20 shows a year in front of a packed BFW hall,
Yep.
working nobody, and they're training guys. And they think their shit is great. And they're calling other people to tell them that their shit is great because they're working one another at the same level. Those guys that are out there that you're training people and you think you're great, you're working the same motherfuckers that are at your same level. The only way to get better is to work people that are better than you and that will push you to those limits in front of real audiences, not your friends and family, in front of real wrestling fans that are going to tell you that was the shits. You know, that's how you get better. When you get exposed, when you're uncomfortable, when you show up to a random seminar in front of Tom Pritchard or Al Snow or whoever the hell was running a seminar back then, and they tell you, kid, that was the shits. Your gear was the shits. You look like a fat blueberry, right? You remember that story?
I do. I have poked fun of you a couple of times.
Lose some
from it.
fucking weight.
Yeah.
That's part of the issue.
Why don't you tell the story on that one? Because
I'm telling you right now.
No, but that was the end results. But tell them the story. What Dr. Tom said to you? Wasn't Dr. Tom was saying he gave you two options?
Yeah.
Right. And what were those two options?
Well, this was back then, and you know, probably circa 2006, 2005, 2006. I had ordered new gear because I want to look good for the seminar. I knew I was doing the seminar and the weekend shows for Sparta. Dr. Tom was coming in and Al Snow was coming in. And I ordered royal blue tights, like singlet and kick pads and the whole deal. You know, that was the thing back then. The kick pads, the singlet, all that shit.
I never liked the kick pads.
So I wanted that look. And Easy Money ended up sending me AJ style powder puff blue fucking tights for whatever reason, and I look horrible.
Yes.
I was like 280 pounds back then. You know, I just had my first kid, and I put on just as much weight as she did. You know, she was a small girl. Yeah, and I showed up, and even though I was that weight, like you said, I used to go to training 3 times a week. We were working tons of shows. The ring conditioning was there, regardless of my physical appearance. But yeah, when I worked in front of Tom, and that's this next level, he pulled me to the side like he did everyone else, you know, by turn. And he's like, kid, you want me to give you the answer you want to hear, or you want me to tell you the truth? And I said, just tell me the truth. He's like, well, the truth is, you take good bumps. Your work, some of your mannerisms are good. Punches, kicks, all the basic shit is good. But a lot of timing issues is probably your weight. If you turn on the TV now, who can you resemble with our product now? You know, so you're fat. You need to lose 30, 40 pounds to get on our television show. And you need to get rid of the fucking blueberry gear. And he told me just like that. He looked me in the eye and he said it, and I ain't have to hear it twice. You know, nowadays you tell that to somebody, first of all, they're gonna say you're harassing them because you call them fat.
Oh, I like the people. Everything's bullying.
You're bullying them. You're picking on him. Fuck that guy. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He has a personal issue with me because he told me the truth.
Right.
And that's the difference between then and now. What did I do? I mean, I started working in my physique, dropping weight. You know, Dr. Tom shortly after that got released or whatever. Tommy Dreamer came in. That's another story when I sent footage to Tommy Dreamer of a perfect indie match that I thought that was great. And he told me this, and I never forget it. He said that match was good because where you're working now, that'll be fine. There'll be hundreds just like that think that match is great because you work in the indies. that was a perfect independent match. But if you want to work on television and you want to work for the big leagues, these are the things that you need to work on. That shit, taking turns to do your moves. Then the other guy takes his turns and does his move, and you don't sell, you don't register. There's no timing. There's no mannerisms. Shit don't mean anything. That doesn't work with us. And he watched the match because he broke everything down that I did in the match. And that was the day that I learned that moves and a bunch of shit added into a match doesn't mean anything. If you're not telling a story, if you're not selling, if it doesn't reflect the character and the person that you are supposed to be in the ring, and you're not getting people emotionally invested in you, it means nothing. That day, it just, when you hit that little bell, you go somewhere and you hit that little bell and it makes that little sound?
No.
Bling! That was...
At the deli?
Yes. That was it. And ever since then, I stopped the shit and I went back to the drawing board. And I started fixing, and I still do every day. I watch wrestling every day. At some point, I'm watching wrestling. Whether it's local wrestling, I see a lot of the guys. Whether it's wrestling from Puerto Rico or Japan or whatever, I watch wrestling. I still do to this day because I love wrestling. I'm a fan of wrestling, but I'm a student of the game. I like to watch different shit. I like to watch people that are better than I am and people that are not so great because there's potential to learn in everything, whether it's good or bad.
Well, I think people forget about that too. You got to learn what's good and what's bad, and you got to figure out the why. And some days I like watching what people think is hot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. It goes against.
You took a perfect point and brought it across that I spoke about a few minutes ago. Is the taking turns to do moves. Like I have 1,000 moves I got to get in this one match. Then it's your turn to get those 1,000 moves that you have in that match. And we just do them and don't do anything else. We don't sell. We don't register. We don't do anything. We don't tell a story. What I was critiqued years ago for doing that was bad. It's what guys are doing now and having a job and getting paid. Isn't that ironic?
Well, I always, and I look at it, what level are the guys on the card? Because usually the guys who are doing that, majority of them, if they have a job, they're
mid-level opening card.
Mid to lower. Is usually not the main event guys, the main event, quote, the main event style.
Yeah.
And that's the question. So with that being, would you be open if somebody sent you a couple of their matches?
Sure.
A match, all right. So
sure.
How can they find you and send a match? You can always send it at SP Wrestling on Messenger. Is that the easiest way? All right.
Or my Facebook page or my Instagram, Pun Don Vega or Don Vega on Facebook and all that stuff. I'm always watching. I watch a lot of guys. The problem is nowadays guys don't ask, have you seen my match? Because they think they're better than the person that's been around probably twice their age, or they're just too good to get critiqued. Or they don't want to be exposed. They don't want to be in an uncomfortable situation. Like I said, a lot of guys that I've noticed don't attend these seminars anymore. I've gone to seminars and I'm 27 years into this shit and I still go to seminars and I'm 42 years old. I still go to seminars and I expose myself. I got guys that are 20 years younger than I am.
True.
And it doesn't hurt me one bit to go out there and do what I need to do because, if anything, I'm going to learn something. Whether it is something that I'm going to use to work with guys at training, whether it is something that I'm going to use to book events or produce a show or whatever, that's my next thing is learning something, picking something from somebody that I could learn from. And it doesn't bother me one bit going out there and putting myself out there. But for some superstars in New England, it's the no-no. It's the I'm not going, I'm too good, or I don't want to work for TV. You hear a lot of guys that haven't done shit. I don't want to work for TV. That was never my thing. Bullshit. If you're in this business, you're in it for one reason. and that is to make it to the top of the game. If whether you made it there or not, it's on you. Mm-hmm. You know, whether you put 110 or 50% to get to the door and at least get looked at, it's on you. When I hear guys say, "Oh no, that was never my thing," you know, I had a kid and you know, I didn't want to be on the road. Bullshit. You know, it's the biggest bullshit I hear from these guys that never went anywhere. It's just because they were scared to get exposed and they wasn't trying to learn new things from different people. My opinion. I've seen a lot.
Honest answers right there. So with that being said, we're going to do a couple plugs before that. So if you are inspired, you can go to showcaseperson.com, SP Wrestling on all social media, drop a message, say, hey, I want to be a pro wrestler, thinking of coming down, when's training? That's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 6:30 to 9:30. And I always tell this to everyone, the hardest door to get through is through yours and through ours. Just get there. Don't wait till after WrestleMania. Don't wait until you get into better shape or you get gear, because no matter what, there's always an excuse.
Yeah.
And you just got to start. Period.
That's
because we do. Right now is coming up to WrestleMania season. Start getting the emails. You just got to do it. You know, and when I always tell people straight out, when you go to a school, you know, if people ask me, I say, hey, are you looking at other schools? If they go yes, I said, great. Have you gone there yet? I said, if they say yes or no, I said, well, just either go there or remember what the environment is. Yep. You got to make sure the environment is right for you.
Yeah, you got to look at the people that are there, the people that have worked, the people that have their own experiences. Yep. Someone can't tell you how it feels to get hit in the head if they never gotten hit in the head. You know what I mean? You have to have gone through that process to say, hey, this is how it feels. And in a lot of ways, there's guys trying to teach guys to get to that next level. And like I said, going back to the superstars that have never walked in the door, they don't know what it feels to walk in the door. So how can they tell you how it feels to walk in the door and what to expect and how things go if they've never been in that predicament of going on a tryout or being at TV or getting considered? You know, how will they tell you if they've never been in that environment? And that's something to consider, you know, as well, who these people have worked with, you know, who are some of the people that could vouch for them that they work with, who are some of the people that they've furthered their training and knowledge from, you know, because like you said, you can learn from multiple people. You could travel and wrestle and meet different people and learn from different people. Those are things that you look at when you're training with individuals. And then the most important thing, going back to, you know, talking about my experiences with Dr. Tom and you know, Al Snow and Tommy Dreamer, you know, watching the matches and stuff like that. Then finally going and seeing my buddy, the biggest Dallas Cowboy fan in the land there, Mike Bucci, Nova. You know, if he watches, you know I love you, but the Cowboys got to go. Yeah, you know, it took me a while of getting a bunch of no's. It took me a while of seeing a bunch of guys that I was, at times I'm going to admit it, I was bitter. You know, at times I see guys that I wrestled with going there and getting opportunities, and I'm like, what the fuck, you know? It's never going to happen for me. And even though I was happy, honestly, I was happy for those guys, because even though you get bitter, those are guys that are sitting right there next to you. So if Blackheart's there, that means there's also hope for me to be there. So I was always happy to see the homeboys get an opportunity. But in a personal level, I was frustrated and bitter to get the no. So it took time for me to trust the process and keep working at it myself. And knowing that I was in the right path, all I needed to do is trust the process and keep working towards it. So when I stopped to think about those things and I said, okay, you know, 3 years ago, I didn't know Dr. Tom. He didn't know who the fuck I was. I've already done a couple seminars. Now he knows me when I get to a show. Same thing for Al. Same thing for Dreamer. And now Nova. So I'm like, wow, that's going down a path. And finally, Nova took a liking to me. And in my process of getting in better shape, which I did, at one point I was 214 pounds from 280.
Look, can we pause this for a second? Because we're putting all these names out there, which I know who they are, you know who they are. Can you tell people who those guys were at the time, what their position was in what organization?
Well, Dr. Tom
I don't think people, they may not be able to put two and two together.
Well, to put two and two together quickly, briefly, going back, dropping names, Dr. Tom's the guy responsible for training The Rock, really. He was the guy that fucking got him ready to that level of him going out and main event. So he worked with a lot of other guys, but Dr. Tom was a trainer and the head of talent relations. And if you wanted a job and get considered for a job there, that was the guy that was making choices to take to the head guy. So you had to go through Tom before you got to the head guys there, which at the time was like Jim Ross and, obviously Vince. But Tom was the guy. Then moving forward, Tommy Dreamer became the talent relations guy. He's another guy that would go out, scout talent. And if he saw something in you, he would get you to go work TV, hopefully get a dark match, hopefully get a tryout. And from there, if they thought you had something, hopefully get a job. Same thing for Nova. These were guys that were making the calls, scouting the talent throughout the country, and getting them in the door. But once you get in the door, it's up to you where you're going to go next. And if you're going to go back in through that door the next time and the next time. Because sometimes it take years.
True.
But again, you have to trust the process. You can't keep questioning because somebody's chirping at your ear and whispering. We know a lot of whisperers around. It goes back to a lot of whispering days. You can't be with the devil and God at the same time. You have to pick a side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you know you're going down that right path and you feel it, trust the process.
I think there's nothing wrong with questioning.
Yeah.
But my question is, how many times do you have to question it?
Sometimes I question the stupidity.
Well, some days it is.
Because just like they question, we're able to question, right? It's a two-end street, two-way road, right?
All right, so now I'm thinking right now, that was many years ago. Now we're in 2024.
Yes.
All right. In the real world, right? So we do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Wednesday, we have a guest coach that comes in who works very close to talent on the national level.
Yeah.
Who sees guys, he produces guys,
Yeah.
and he helps mold, and he picks things. And my impression, again, I don't have these conversations because I stay in my lane.
Yeah.
Is my impression is if you're in the environment with somebody who potentially could unofficially have some kind of
well, let's just put it this way, where you're trying to get at. If I was helping create a story, and I was in that group of people that are creating a story, and they looking for a specific type of guy, and in my extra activities that I do outside of that office, I'm working close with these people, and there's somebody that fits that criteria of that guy that they're looking for, who do you think I'm going to go back and say, hey, I got a guy? Because I'm hands-on working with this person. And it's mind-boggling to me, again, going back to talking about people getting exposed, that we don't get people just that can't come through the door if they really want to do this. Because the opportunity that they would get.
Are you talking about new people or people who've
New
been training
people
for a while?
and people that are training and people that are established. It don't matter if they've been in it for 10 years, 15, whatever. If you're wrestling and you still want to get considered to that next level, there's no reason why you shouldn't come to training on Wednesdays. Whether you like Chris Blackheart, whether you like Don Vega, I just think it's just stupid that more people are not taking that opportunity to work in that circle of a guy that's creating and guiding on certain shows on Monday and Fridays. You know, it's just stupid. Either you don't know that person does that, or now that you know, if you don't do anything about it, that means you don't want to go to that next level. You don't want to get exposed. You don't want to get critiqued. You don't want to get broken down, and you're just plain old stupid.
Well, just so that you know, talk about breaking down. Yesterday, half the class we did is film work, and we watched the event from Taunton.
Yeah,
and our guest coach watched it, broke stuff down. Guys have notebooks, and I'm looking at them because I'm observing what guys do, and just because I'm telling this guy something doesn't mean it doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
And it's literally, it's a notebook class.
Yeah.
And we spent almost probably a good 45 minutes to an hour going over like 4 matches.
Yeah.
Fast forward it, rewinding, break it down, what was good, wasn't so good. And I don't know how people, again, this is an individual who worked with some of the top talent.
Yeah, and again, a lot of those classes that are being run on that Wednesday, and when we're there Wednesdays, whether it's film class, promo class, working camera angles, working the art of wrestling again, that it doesn't take a million bumps to tell a story. You can tell a story without taking any bumps in a certain minimal amount of time, because television, you could get 3 minutes, you could get 5 minutes. It could go either way. You could be calling out audible while you're out there. There's different things that guys are getting educated on that I wish I would have got educated on.
Absolutely.
25 years ago. Because some of these guys got 2 years in and they already want to jump the rails and I feel like I'm getting left out, or I feel like I haven't got to my full potential. Jeez. You're 2 years in.
2 years in. What do you know in 2 years?
And you're already working in that environment and learning things that, they show in a specific place in this undisclosed location in Florida. I mean, it's just, again, the word of the day today is stupid. And, we know people that got words of the day, right? Or maybe individuals that hang out with people that have words of the day. Yes. Yeah. Apparently, they haven't learned anything from the teacher.
Nope. Learning and retaining are 2 different things.
But, again, we're in an environment where we hear a lot of birdies. And typically are birdies that are only tied to specific places that they feel comfortable because they got their friends telling them how great they are. Or they got this person being kind about their shitty work and it doesn't get critiqued. Or guys that leave and, like I said, I watch a lot of wrestling and I like to watch some of the birds that leave the nest.
Well, no, and we do, and we recently commented on, we were having a conversation and, this person's been gone for X amount of time and we watch, because I still feel responsible for some of them and I like to see how they're doing and this is
You've gotten worse.
And I don't understand it. How do you supposedly go to training? I mean, again, going to training.
Some people just been worse to begin with. They claim that they've been trained by us. They claim that they did this and that, but they spend more time outside catering to invisible injuries. And I'm not talking about Frank Rocha. Love you, Frank.
Oh my God!
Or invisible rock.
Let me tell you about the.
I'm talking about invisible shoulder injuries, back injuries, or I have a headache, I got a fever, I got this. But yet you still claim you train with us. Yeah. It's
well, and that's the difference too when it comes to training. I always like how people the indie math for training and working is amazing. Yeah. Like COVID, everybody got free 2 years of being in the business.
Yeah. Which is ironic. 5 and you still claim.
Which is ironic because during COVID, I think we worked even harder between training the guys via Zoom, watching footage,
making sure guys were healthy once we started doing the tapings, and making sure guys would get tested before going to the training center to tape those matches and stuff like that. All that fun stuff.
No, that was hard.
Yeah.
No, but it just is. I don't understand. You just got to do it, and you got to show up, and you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And also, okay, a new guy training, probably the best advice I can give you is figure out, can you get there every day? Can you get there during the day of training? If your car breaks down, if the bus breaks down, because I was talking to a kid and he's like, hey, I think I want to go to this place on the other side of Boston. I said, okay, fantastic. I said, why don't you go up there for a week?
Yeah, just get there.
See how the drive goes, see how you like it, and see how it goes. He goes, what do you mean for a week? I said, well, if they're whenever they're running training, go there every time they go in training and see how it goes.
My father used to drive 45 minutes to training every other day, and to go to shows or whatever, the same thing. And I know you got a story. Speaking of traveling, what was your travel schedule to get to Kowalski's?
All right, so depending on the day, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Walter was, was it Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday? So I think I was going like 3 days a week. And I remember, I think on Tuesday, I think I had a half day at work. So I got off at 5. I was selling cars at the time. I think on Thursday, I had off when I was scheduled around wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And then Saturday, I think I had to typically work. And then Sunday, I think I had to work every other Sunday. So depending on what it was.
And I believe you used to take like buses and trains.
Well, I did have, I had some car travel issues. And I remember I would leave Brockton like at 12 o'clock or 12:30. I would take the train from Brockton to probably South Station.
Yeah.
Then I think it was the Orange Line. And then I would get to Boston or the Green Line or whatever it was, probably around 3:30 to 4.
Yeah.
And then guess what? The class started around 4:30. You're there for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then it was done all over again.
Same process again.
Same process coming back. Now I don't know how long I did that because you always try to hook up with people with rides, and back then there wasn't a lot of people coming from this area. So it was challenging.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't easy, but it had to be done.
Yeah, but you did it. And I always tell people, when they send an inquiry, we're right on the bus line, 45 minutes from Worcester, 25 minutes from Providence. You got to figure out how you're going to get there, how you're going to get back.
Well, nowadays it's easier to just have an excuse and not do it at all. And then the next thing is figure out how important is this journey for you.
True.
How committed are you for this journey? What sacrifices are you willing to make for this journey? Because
that is
a little word of advice in life, and not just wrestling. You're forced to make decisions. You have to be willing to sacrifice something in order to get something else that you want. You have to be very lucky to not sacrifice something and get both things. It doesn't work that way. For the average person, it doesn't work that way. You have to lose something to gain something. And the same thing goes for wrestling. What are you willing to lose in order to gain from what it is, your vision, and what it is, your dream, when you want to become a pro wrestler? And, this goes back to sacrifices like missing gatherings, birthday parties, friends playing video games, girlfriends, sometimes even jobs.
Jobs, yeah. I remember
a bunch of things, I remember, he's sitting here in the background. I can't remember how many birthdays I miss and gatherings I miss of all my nephews, and I got a bunch of them. And it was for wrestling. Because usually it's, weekends, and I was out wrestling, and that was my main thing. And, I missed a lot of family time. And, when I hear people say I got to go to this activity, it makes me question what they're trying to sacrifice for this. It makes me question if they're in it for the long run or if they're here just to say I'm a wrestler and play wrestle.
What is a tough balance, and you got to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
And I always like it where we give 100%. They're giving about 30. And that's hard too. Some days I always look at it. It is what it is. I know what I have with the talent, and there's nothing we can. Well, that's all I can do with it.
Well, that's the thing.
I can't play anymore.
If the talent has excuses, but yet you got the guy that has a family both got families. We both got real lives. And some of these kids, all they got to worry about is getting the training and, what video game they're going to play when they get home.
Yeah.
But we still at every show. We still at training. We still there. And they have a problem and a difficulty getting there themselves. It makes me question sometimes where we at.
All right, I'm gonna give you a Blackheart-ism right now.
What's
Remember, it's not the problem; it's the solution.
No.
So the problem's not going to change. You got to figure out how you're going to deal with the solution.
Well, yeah.
Hypothetically, you got a flat tire. Do you wait till mom comes home to change it for you?
Yeah. Wait 4 hours for AAA.
Do you wait for AAA? Do you try to change it yourself? Do you take the bus? Do you take Uber? That's like 5 answers right there they could have taken. Now, ironically, we had a class one night years ago. Were you there? I don't remember.
I don't think so. Is it how to change a tire?
Yes, we did. There was a young girl in the parking lot at the training school, and she had a flat tire. And I said, "Okay, boys, why don't you go and help her with the tire?" And they looked at me like I don't know how to do it. I'm like, "All right, let's all go." So we all helped change this girl's tire, and I showed them how to change a tire.
Yeah.
So now we gave them a life lesson of how to change a tire.
There's a lot of things you learn in pro wrestling and in wrestling that goes to your day-to-day and goes to your real life. I mean, it's just, again, how much are you open to learning and using these learning tools and putting them to use in different scenarios of your life.
You know what I almost think, and recently I've been realizing there's an age gap between myself and a lot of the younger talent. And some days it's how they think and how they learn, and I think this blows their mind some days. In wrestling, there's not always a right and a wrong. I mean, there is, but there's not always.
Yeah.
It's different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And just because you can do something doesn't mean you pass. And just because you know something doesn't mean that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost like they get so set, well, I went through first grade and second grade, and I don't have to do that anymore. No, in wrestling, I'm going to give you a hint. Write this down, too. In wrestling, your first, 30 to 60 days is what's going to make you and break you to get you a job.
Yeah.
Which is kind of mind-blowing. When do you ever do something, learn to do something, that information can help you be that contract talent? It just doesn't happen,
Now, again, you get, in some cases, you get what you put in. And again, you have to trust the process and just know that you're in the right path and that you're working hard and you're consistent and things will end up happening. You do want to knock on different doors, but the whisperers that are just there to stir the pot, you got to differ. And this is where another life lesson comes into play that you learn in wrestling because you deal with a lot of different people. At least for me, I've dealt with a lot of different people from different paths, breaking in mid-90s into, the 2000s. I met a lot of shady characters in wrestling, guys that were shady. When I mean shady, they were shady. You learn, and this teaches you how to deal with people in real life. Guys now, I'm scared. I'm scared for some of these guys, because the way they see it is like, okay, this guy's telling me what I want to hear. Let me go follow him. But sometimes those people that are telling you what they want to hear is because you're in some way, somehow beneficial to them. And once they use you and they get what they want, they're going to kick you to the curb and you're going to lose out on what you had before.
Well, some days it's not what you think you're gaining, is you never look back to find out what you're losing.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you were going to go out on a date and you tell your current girlfriend to stay home.
Yeah.
Because you want to go on a date with that pretty girl. I highly doubt that girl's going to be there when you come back.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta make sure, and like I said, it goes back to, trusting the process, knowing that you're going down the right path with the right people. You gotta put it on a scale. What am I getting from these people on this side? What have I been getting from these people that I'm on this other side? And if you're not smart enough to get it, then there's a problem, and we can't help you there because sometimes the answers are just a simple question.
That is true.
I used that in a promo before.
Let's plug.
Speaking of promos,
Perfect.
we go right into the promos, right into the plugs. You know, we're back in action March 2nd, which is this Saturday night in Woonsocket, 126 Main Street, Woonsocket, the Showcase Arena. The last show before March Anniversary 17. You know, a lot of things could happen. You want to check that out this Saturday night at the Showcase Arena, and then that will bring us 2 weeks later to the biggest event in Showcase Pro Wrestling, the annual March anniversary show of the company, 17 years. A big one. A lot of the matches have been announced. The poster is up for the event. The link to buy tickets is live. It's been live for a couple weeks. You want to get your tickets. Tickets are already moving.
They are. They're moving pretty quick.
Do
you know what I think it was? In getting feedback of how we do things, someone's like, "Hey, I know people who listen to the pod knows what's going on, but other people may not know the matches." And I said, "Well, they better listen to the pod."
Yeah, they gotta listen to the podcast.
You know?
They gotta follow us.
That ticket has been live for not saying about 2.5, 3 weeks. The tickets are, and in all fairness, I get one guy hits me up like every year around this time.
Yeah.
Chris, can I buy tickets for your big event, you know, during the day of the event? And I said, maybe. He goes, well, I don't understand. How can I maybe buy tickets? I said, because they may or may not be available.
Yeah.
So that's why we put them online first. And if you do buy them online, which you do recommend it, you do get express check-in, which really means when my wife opens the door at 7 o'clock, anyone who has tickets that are already bought, you show your screenshot, or you print the ticket,
go to the head of the line,
and then you get checked off, and it's open seating, sit wherever you want, front, back, around. We don't really care, wherever you think is the best seat for you.
Yeah.
But that is advantage. And the last couple of years, we had to push people away because
last year it was a sellout. We had to, again, you know, we're at a BFW. We got two in chains, 200, whatever it is, but we left people outside, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you know, it's a good bad feeling.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why we always encourage buy it online, get them quick. Some people, they do like only buying the day of. I mean, there, which is fine, but we always recommend ahead of time.
Yeah, you can do that at bigger venues, but like I said, we're in a smaller environment. You want to get your tickets. You don't want to get left out like people did last year. And, you know, it sucks to get left out the door. Looking at the card here, which was posted a few days ago. Big stretcher match already signed. Diabolical Revan will take on Big Matt Thompson for the Showcase Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Championship in a stretcher match. You know the rules of this match, right?
I did review the contract. Why we're not telling the rules this week?
Well, you know, why
don't they tell us what they think the rules are? Because in true format, if somebody has a better idea, we have 2 weeks to either modify it.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, it's been like that for a long time, even before Little Blackheart and Little Vega were in the wrestling business. The only way to win is by strapping your opponent to the stretcher and going down that marker at the end of the lobby. That will declare the winner and the Showcase Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. When that does happen, will it be Matt Thompson or will it be the Diabolical Revan retaining the title? That's a question that's going to be answered March 15, March Anniversary 17. Also on the card, big ladder match, your favorite.
I hate that match. I really, it's not my favorite. I know some of the fans like it. I know Julio loves it. I know these people don't tell me half the stuff that's going on purpose.
Yeah, well,
but I'm not. All right, I know the fans like it. It's just I'm not a big fan of it. Because it's human carnage. You have guys
I like carnage.
Literally going up a ladder trying to grab a belt, and guess what? They're usually not successful at the beginning.
Danny, you want to pull up the March Anniversary poster there? I'm having a little difficulty here. It's on all the social media.
Yeah, put on the site. SP Wrestling on either TikTok. No, don't put it on TikTok. The video's not up there, but
Yeah, Instagram, or Facebook, right?
Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.
If you want to turn it over here so I can see the rundown there, I know the big ladder match. It features Jay Evans.
Yep.
Features AZ is on that matchup. I think another one that got announced the other day was Osiris. And, you know, we talked about it last week. Mm-hmm. That kid, D-Rex.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
He's in the ladder match.
Well, we have to address that whole issue with D-Rex and Sprat and Danny Cabral. That should be a story maybe next week.
Well, yeah, speaking of Danny Cabral and the educator Christopher Spratt, student against teacher, one-on-one finally for Showcase Pro Wrestling Sons of Liberty Championship at March Anniversary. What do you think about that match? What do you see happening there, Chris Blackheart?
Okay, I am looking forward to that one because there's no ladders.
Yeah.
I say literally as a checkpoint. This could be Cabral's final exam.
What happens if he fails?
I don't know.
Does he know?
We should ask Spratt. So if the question would be, if Danny doesn't beat Spratt, does he go back to the classroom?
Who knows? We're going to find out March 15 in Taunton. And another matchup that is a culmination of many months. Superstar Sean Candido takes on the undefeated Rambo. That matchup, you know, we talked about it last week. The young lion versus the old dog, Candido. You know, he's been around for a long time. He's got many tricks up his sleeve, but youth and strength definitely on the side of the notorious Rambo Godfrey. And that's going to be an interesting matchup there. And another matchup that it's on the card that I got to say, because, you know, I like talking about myself. You said that before.
Somebody has to.
The SPW tag team titles will be on the line in an open challenge. Do you know anything about this open challenge?
I do.
You care to tell the people?
In true form, if the contract's signed and finished by all parties, they're not executed, so I am not announcing.
So this is, other words, you're giving me the bullshit running.
No. You got a pen in your hand. You know, after the podcast comes off, if you.
Well, speaking of tag teams, me and Buck Nasty.
Oh, look,
Bionic Beast. We're looking to become the first tag team.
Coming.
We look to become the first tag team to win the
you
gauntlet
guys
match.
actually have to have a tag team.
Danny, you have to be an official guest to make
Danny,
challenges. You're producing today. Thank you very much.
Well, you know, they are a tag team, but Danny's come back from an injury, and we'll touch on that right after on the card. But my favorite, as always, is the gauntlet. I like the gauntlet for a couple reasons. One, because the guys have been training at the center for a while. I'm going to drop some names right there. My favorite so far.
Don't.
That could be a favorite according to himself.
I know.
You know what I'm saying. You want to say it? I know you want to say it.
I already have it. But
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
You want to say it?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I know who it is already.
The young kid Rocky.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But that wasn't the one.
It was just as bad.
That wasn't the one.
I was thinking the horse's mouth.
Yes. All right, I'll put it there, right? The R.I. Stallion.
Oh, jeez.
With a name like that, and yes, I try to change it 15 different times.
It's kind of like R.P. Williams. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the good thing about this whole thing, the excellent news about this whole thing, is that a certain individual by the name of Don Vega's in the gauntlet.
You are, yeah.
And this is gonna be great. I feel like a kid in a candy store because Blackheart.
Well,
some people are taking their final exam in matches.
Yeah.
Others, the gauntlet for the gold is gonna be their final exam.
I may have to find my boots for that one. It's not official yet, but
No tag team's ever won that, right? So we look to become the first
well,
tag team.
if you
to
guys, okay,
It's every man for himself, Daniel. Only one
Bionic
winner.
Dan Badani wants to be in that match, and if a tag team can get their stuff together and work together, maybe you guys can actually do it the first time
There
ever.
has to be one guy out of the tag team to win and use that opportunity to challenge for whatever title. whether it's a tag team or individual
Yep.
title.
So if you wanted Mr. Batandi, would you go for the heavyweight or would you do it for the tag?
Well, much as I like the heavyweight, but you know what? Me and Buck made a promise, man. We've been working our asses off to get to those tag team titles, and so I would use it for the tag team championship.
All right.
He says that now.
I know,
because
yeah.
won
Yeah,
the
I'm not
match.
buying
I'm
that.
not buying that shit. But
Right, but flipping back to this Saturday night, we have is it a deadlift challenge Dan Benani
Yep.
doing?
400 pounds deadlift, right?
Yep, sponsored by
400 pounds.
Powerhouse Gym, right next to the Showcase Pro Wrestling Training Center. They are 130 Main Street. Go and see our buddy Nick over there. It's in literally the heart of Woonsocket, right across from us. It's not
Great
pla-
facility,
it's not
old school gym scenario.
old school. It is not Planet Fitness.
And so we were doing an open challenge, basically. Anybody in the audience?
Anybody in the audience that think
Audience,
they can
the locker room, Main Street.
Yeah.
If you're a football player, basketball player, rugby player, lacrosse player, what kind of hat's that? Football hat.
Yeah, he
player,
said- he
a
said-
football hat player.
He said football player already. But going back real quick, we'll have that challenge this Saturday night in Woonsocket. Going back to the gauntlet, new rules for the gauntlet.
Modified.
Typically, it's right from the get-go. You
Yep.
win by pinfall, submission, or over the top. But
Yes.
this year, different little modification. The final four sudden death rules, it goes into pinfall, over the top, or submission.
Yes.
Only the final four. Those before will be only over the top, both feet touching the ground. That's how you get eliminated there. But interesting little
No, it's a little twist.
modification,
With
yeah.
everything else, you got to try it, see if you like it. The idea is to, again, the concept, the fans choose the entry of the order. Ring announcer will be going around with a bucket. You pick out the entrance, and
Hopefully my number gets called when all the birdies
I'll
are
be
in the
honest
house.
with you, look at number one, because number one is the worst and best number. Because usually the odds, I think we're about 25% of the people who have got number one have actually won the title.
Well, there you go. March anniversary, 17, March 15 at the Taunton BFW Hall, 82 Ingle Street in Taunton, Massachusetts. Get your tickets, showcaseprowrestling.com. That link is there. Don't get left out this year. And we move on, if you have it on the screen, to our buddies, March 23rd. Do I have the... I got too many dates here. Pull that poster off for Powerhouse.
Yeah.
I might have the wrong date.
No, it's I'll bring it up. It's on a Saturday.
It's live.
It's
Leave me
Saturday.
a comment if I'm screwing up.
No,
but
it's Saturday the 23rd.
okay, so
Yeah.
there you go. I was right. I knew that, Chris Blackheart.
I almost said the 24th.
March,
so.
yeah, I was gonna say the 24th. Saturday night, March 23rd, Powerhouse Wrestling returns to Leominster, Massachusetts at the Elks Lodge, and tickets are on sale now at Powerhouse Wrestling NE on all social media. The QR code is there also. You'll get to see Mr. Kennedy Ken Anderson in action. The real one, Enzo Amore, returns to Powerhouse Wrestling, and a host of other talent. It's going to be a great night, great show. You'll see some familiar faces, some new faces. Get your tickets, Powerhouse Wrestling NE, and follow us on all social media for that show. March 23rd at the Elks in Leominster, Massachusetts. Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. We'll leave April for the next coming weeks. We got a lot of surprises.
We
new,
do.
New things happening. We'll announce that next week. I think we're getting close to taking it home here
For next week or for this week?
for this week.
Well, we hit the 10 o'clock mark, and if you're a wrestler, a wannabe wrestler, a lot of nuggets in here. I always say, at any time I go to training for anything, if I can learn one thing that I can use and get myself better, that's a positive.
Yeah, exactly.
And those are nuggets that you can go with.
Well, next week we'll be back on here on Thursday. We'll announce a guest. We'll go back into the guests next week, midweek. Stay in touch on our social media at SP Wrestling so you can find out who the next guest in the showcase
Yep. Make sure you,
showcase pod will be.
all those
next week.
upcoming wrestlers, guys currently wrestling, if you want to send your match review, Don Vega is using this for a free service. That if you want him to look over your stuff, send it there.
Yeah, I get matches from guys that want to come in, and sometimes I get a match with
All right, so what's the format that you like when it comes to that?
matches, bell to bell matches, unless you got a different character that you believe that's gonna get you over, and you want to.
Bell to bell, do you like entrances?
That's what I'm saying. If,
All right, so
if you got your generic entrance that everybody else has, I don't want to watch 15-minute entrance.
Not a highlight reel.
No, I want to watch a bell to bell match, and typically that's what we ask for when we're booking guys. And when you go get booked in places, bell to bell match. If you got a good promo, that'll be the scenario where I can see your character and who you are and what you're shooting for. But bell to bell matches, that's where it's at. Not bell to bell 20-minute matches. Try to keep your matches short. Don't put 20 minutes worth of stuff in a 5-minute match. That's an easy way to get next it.
Yeah.
That's another nugget there.
Well, I'll give him a nugget on that too. Some days when we're watching footage, we shut it off right after the lockup.
Oh yeah, I mean that's,
know.
that's the first thing. You circle around, you lock up, and it looks like I'm not gonna say it, but
It still looks like the shits. It's the shits, okay? It's loose, it's flimsy, your arms are all over the place. It doesn't look realistic.
footwork's all over the
Yeah.
place. I mean,
They do. A lot of times people say, "Did you see my whole match?" I said, "No, I barely saw 30 seconds." Like, what? And I'm like, "Let me tell you why." And they're like, "Oh yeah, but that was just a lockup." And I said, "And that's the
how
problem."
can you judge me on just a lockup?
Yeah.
I did nothing.
Yeah. And that's the problem. With that being said, about nothing, let's wrap this baby up today.
Yeah, let's wrap it up today. Always wrap it up. Don't let it loose, hanging loose. Right, Danny? Yeah. Always keep it wrapped. On that note, we thank you for watching. We will see you here next week. For the Bros, Chris Blackheart. For Don Vega, this has been the Showcase Pod. We'll catch you down the road.